This week on the show, eBay makes a major unannounced change to some of their promoted listings campaigns. Etsy is trialing their insider program, and I buy and sell a whole mess of books. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 273. I got the number right this time of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I'm going to be your host. We don't have a whole bunch to report this week, but there are a few major updates that you definitely want to know about. So we've got reselling news, and then in the back end of the show, I've got a pretty hefty, once again, what sold recap for you with a bunch of books, and I'll talk about some of the buys I've done over the past couple of weeks as well. I will, of course, leave timestamps to all of that in the show notes and the video description down below. So if you want to go to a particular segment, you can do that. Let's get in to this reselling news.
News updates.
So eBay had their seller check-in, winter seller check-in last week, and I did sit through about 45 minutes of it, and then I bailed. There wasn't a whole bunch new there, as has been the case lately with a lot of these things. And most of what they talked about was things that they've already done that we've talked about on this show previously that they seem to think are terrific moves for the site, but that sellers are not quite so impressed with. So that's kind of what that was all about. I'm going to cover the high points here. There were a couple of interesting introductions, I guess, of things that they've kind of progressively been rolling out that I think people don't fully understand. And to be fair, they're so convoluted, I'm not sure buyers are ever going to get their arms around some of these things. But here we go. Some of the event highlights, and this is over on eBay's site. And I will, of course, link to all of these in the show notes and the video description below. They talked about the holiday shipping strategy. Effective shipping is crucial for holiday success, and they shared updates and strategies to help you manage this aspect of your business efficiently. Personally, I didn't really hear anything there that you probably aren't already doing. They talked about the carrier rates. They talked about carrier deadlines. And they did bring up one interesting thing with new combined shipping options, which we're going to get into here in a minute in the payment piece of this. They did not talk at all about the situation up in Canada, which went from bad to worse. As of Friday, Canada Post workers are actually on strike. So if you are a seller in Canada, my thoughts go out to you. You're in a world of hurt. All the sites have recommended, of course, that you find alternate shipping methods. I assume, though eBay has not been real clear about it, that if you use eBay's international shipping program, they're taking care of that for us. That may be a big assumption on my part, but they handle the international piece of the shipping. So I personally have not made any changes, but that's kind of what they talked about there. Some of the holiday deadlines and stuff. One of the big ones was, again, addressing unpaid items. And I think there was a lot of seller pushback on this because part of this program is actually going to extend the issue of unpaid items. So they talked about to reduce unpaid items, eBay is continuing to roll out changes which require buyers to set up a default payment method, including on auctions. On auctions, they have added the ability for a buyer to select combined shipping. But when they do that, as they put their payment method in, it essentially gives them 7 days to continue shopping with that particular seller. So they make a bid on an item you have at auction, and they select that they would like to combine shipping and they would like to continue to shop with that seller. Once that auction closes, if they are the winner, they will have up to, it looked like 7 days to complete the purchase. They will get sent an invoice, but because they selected that they wanted to continue to shop with you, they'll have an opportunity to go back to your store, go back to your shop, theoretically buy more items, which will fall under that same thing. And then either at the end of that time period or when they respond to an invoice, they will pay. I get it. They're trying to fix the thing that is broken with not being able to do combined shipping on auctions and offers. The way they have done it, however, is extending the length of time someone has to pay rather than getting to a point where all of us want immediate payment. So it's a little messy. It's very confusing. I'm not sure how many buyers are actually going to use it. We'll see. The presentation, to be fair, they must have been playing it at triple speed. The guy was talking so fast, it was almost impossible to follow, even as a seasoned seller. So I can't imagine what a one-time user or whatever of eBay is going to think of it. But nonetheless, that's where that's going. In non-combined shipping scenarios, buyers may be charged after the auction ends, which is perfect. In combined shipping scenarios, buyer may be charged after the buyer's shopping window ends. So be aware of that. That one's a little interesting. I don't think a lot of people are doing auctions. So I don't know how big a deal this is going to be. If they also roll this out to making and receiving offers, that could be, again, it would be helpful. I've got people, I'll put in a lot of, 3 or 4 books from the same series, and one person will want to make offers on 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And there's really no way with the current setup of immediate payment for them to be able to do that and then combine shipping, and you end up having to send a refund. So something like this, but without that lengthy window, I think is probably the happy middle ground, but it needs to be maybe 48 hours, not a week. That's just my opinion. You can let me know in the comments down below if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. They have added discount tools to make managing your offers easier. They claim it offers faster workflow, and you can do coupon generation more easily. And again, they bragged about their updated dashboards in virtually every scenario, despite seller outcry, that the information provided in these new updated dashboards is a bit lacking. It's not as, maybe we just haven't adjusted to it, but it doesn't appear on the surface that there's as much data as readily available at your fingertips as there were previously. They did talk about holiday shopper insights. The big push here, of course, was to get you to do promoted listings, which we are going to talk about in a few moments. There were some big unannounced changes over there that you're definitely going to want to know about. They surveyed supposedly over 3,000 online shoppers and found that 65% plan to do most of their holiday shopping online. 78% of young adults feel like having a one-stop shop is important. 67% of shoppers, they said, tend to browse online marketplaces first, and 43% plan to start their shopping in November or December. They also talked again about advertising solutions, as they always do in these, and we talked about it over the last few weeks, how they are working to make a bigger and bigger piece of their gross merchandise volume from promoted listings, from ads. So they talked about the various solutions: promoted listings, general, and priority, about promoting stores and promoting off-site. You will note that 3 of those 4 campaigns are cost per click campaigns. So you pay every time somebody clicks one of your listings, whether they make a purchase or not. We've talked about on this show and in my lives on several occasions about that is not a good strategy for every type of product or every type of seller. So just be aware that that's what they're pushing, and that's what's out there. They talked about seller hub enhancements. Again, most of this was cosmetic. They did talk also about simplifying bulk listing, although this new magical bulk listing tool currently is only available in trading cards. They did say they're going to be rolling it out to fashion and I think one other category over the coming weeks and months. So there will be more sellers that have an opportunity to use this. There is a link here to learn more about that tool. Then they had an interview with an eBay seller, and that's when I checked out. As we're going to get into later in the show, I just have too much to do to listen to that. So I bounced. You can watch the full event. It is available on their YouTube channel. So if you do want to go back and watch that, it is available. Unfortunately, like I said, most of what they covered is stuff we kind of already know about, and they did not cover some of the things that have been dropping that we have talked about on this show recently. Here is a big one. eBay has hiked the promoted listing priority cost per click ad bid minimums tenfold, with no notice to sellers. This was reported on Value Added Resource. Liz, of course, is on top of all of this, so hat tip to her for all these great articles. It makes my job so much easier. But it appears that the eBay promoted listing ad rate increases will continue until revenue, but certainly not morale. She says improves as sellers discover a sneaky 10x hike of minimum cost per click bids during the critical Q4 shopping season. We talked about last week. Sellers were surprised to note that the rate for dynamic general ad campaigns had popped from 2% all the way up to 5%, but apparently they were not done. Sellers are now discovering that the minimum bids for promoted listings priority, which again is the cost per click one, whether they make a purchase or not, you're paying a rate, you're bidding on a click. The previous requirement was just 2 cents per click. The new minimum requirement is 20 cents per click. That is a significant increase in the minimum, obviously, and it's a big number for most sellers. I'm not sure. You can let me know if you use promoted listings priority, what were you bidding per click? Because 20 cents sounds like a lot to me. And I know they recommend even higher and higher rates. I've seen in some of the screenshots, they're recommending 75 cents, 95 cents, $1 a click. You got to be selling a pretty expensive item with pretty great profit margins and a pretty terrific sell-through rate to make that kind of model work. So, and especially as the price of those clicks goes through the roof, 20 cents to me just seems like a really, really big number. Just to use my case as an example, I'm not using this program. I'm on the promoted listing general campaign. So I'm not paying for clicks. I'm only paying for sales. But that program alone is generating, I think, something like 10,000 clicks a week. And that is my actual conversion rate is like 3%. So I'm making whatever that works out to 30 sales a week on that program. If I was paying 20 cents per click for those 10,000 clicks, my business would be bankrupt in no time. So again, for some business models, it's a great program. For others, it's definitely not. And this change probably limits the number of people who can utilize this. So take a look. If you're on that program, you'll want to go in. If you had previously set your minimum bid for clicks at something less than 20%, you'll want to go in and verify that your ads are still showing, because the new minimum is 20. For priority campaigns that use the smart targeting option, which allows eBay to automate aspects of the campaign, the maximum cost per click rate now setting requires that minimum of 20 cents. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see here a screenshot where someone tried to put in 3 cents per click, and it says your max CPC is too low and may prevent your ads from being seen. Based on similar campaigns, consider a max cost per click of greater than 75 cents. If you look on the actual window, it says the max CPC, cost per click, must be greater than 20 cents. Priority campaigns that use manual targeting with fixed bidding now show a minimum of 10 cents, while also daring to suggest that there is a reality in which someone might want to pay as much as $100 per click on their ads. No thanks. That's pretty crazy. Bids must be between 10 cents and $100. I feel like I don't think they really expect anyone to do that, but that's crazy. The article continues, it's unclear exactly when this change was made, as just with the promoted listing general change that we talked about last week, eBay had not bothered to proactively inform sellers with any kind of public announcements. In fact, eBay's policy page for promoted listings priority cost per click still shows the minimum at 2 cents as of the time of publishing. So this article was from late last week. So just be aware, those rates are going up and up. We've been talking for the last several weeks about how eBay, and to be fair, all of these sites are attempting to make more and more money off of seller fees above and beyond the actual sale fees collected for an actual merchandise changing hands, which is their job, and not really seemingly being super focused on attracting new buyers to the site, which would make more money for everyone. So it's all very troublesome to me. I do use the promoted listing general campaign because I feel like you need to get your stuff surfaced as often as you would like. But these constant increases and recommendations for higher and higher bid rates really, really feels like a cash grab. So, and I get, they're in business to make money just like the rest of us, but I talk all the time about the three-legged stool where the platforms, the buyers, and the sellers all have to have skin in the game and all have to be able to get some benefit out of it. And these kind of changes benefit only one leg of that stool, and that is the sites. The article continues, like the promoted general dynamic changes, it's not clear exactly what's happening to existing ad campaigns that have a lower rate cap already set, though she mentions she would assume in both cases those ads simply may not be delivered unless they are bumped up to the new minimums, or exactly what impact this may be having on ad rates for sellers who were already above the minimum. So again, if you were already bidding, let's say 20 cents, and now there are hundreds or thousands more sellers that are also now raising their bid rate to 20 cents, your ads are going to be seen a lot less frequently. You used to have a pretty good advantage if you were advertising at 20 cents that over those people who were at 3, 4, 5, 10 cents. Now with the minimum at 20, if you were at 20 to have an advantage over those people, you really need to go to 25 or 30 or 40. And again, at each of those steps, eBay makes more money. And again, they make that money whether anybody actually makes a purchase or not, because this is based solely on a click. She adds, she suspects those ads may see a loss in performance as well if they aren't adjusted. Again, like I just explained, since the gap between the minimum and what they are currently set at will be similar, which could diminish that competitive edge. So let me know if you're using that program. Did you see this? Were you aware of it? You'll want to go in, if you are using the program, go in, look at your listings and make sure everything is going correct. Again, this was a question that was raised during the winter seller check-in. The question was not answered, as were many of the questions that I saw pop up in the chat. My feedback, for what it's worth, in the post-event survey was that an event that really had some interaction, where there was a genuine give and take and a Q&A where eBay representatives were willing to face the music and talk to and with sellers and take their questions and really explain how they've come to some of these decisions and why they think some of this stuff is beneficial for sellers when sellers don't seem to see it that way. That kind of event would be super helpful. But these check-ins and the eBay opens and that, the way they're run now, where they are just essentially telling us the things that they've already done, that they know best about how sellers should run their businesses, for me is no longer working. I'm not sure I will attend another one. They didn't cover anything particularly useful. And again, they're not being responsive to seller questions or needs. So a fairly frustrating experience, if I'm being 100%. There were some questions. We talked last week about the new monthly invoice program that was going to be rolled out over in Germany between eBay, Germany, and Riverty. There were some updates on this that I think sellers will be glad to know. Again, eBay announced last week that they've partnered with Riverty to give buyers more flexible payment options, allowing them to have orders accrue and be paid on a monthly invoice. But what do sellers need to know about this program? The new buy now, pay by the middle of next month invoice option promises to give buyers greater payment flexibility while also promising nothing will change for sellers. They say nothing changes for eBay sellers with the monthly invoice. They receive their money as before in accordance with the agreed payout plan, which is what we surmised was going to be the case when we talked about this last week. But now eBay has said specifically that apparently Riverty, as it works out, is going to make the payment through eBay to you as a seller, and then they become the recipient of the funds and the responsible party for collecting those funds from the buyer. And if the buyer does not pay, that's Riverty's problem. It's not eBay's problem, and it's not supposed to be your problem as a seller. The online marketplace eBay introducing this new payment option for monthly invoice. You can pay, the invoice comes on the first calendar day of the month. Nothing changes again for eBay sellers. The press release goes on to explain that buyers do not need to create a separate account to access this option. On the first calendar day of the month, they'll receive an invoice for all applicable purchases that can be paid within 14 days. No additional fees for the buyer if a payment is made on time. I guess the million-dollar question is, how in the world is Riverty making any money on this deal? There must be some cut to them from eBay for handling this. But at a time when eBay is like kicking and screaming and fighting like dogs and cats to try to squeeze every last nickel out of their sellers, I don't understand why they would pay a firm to essentially delay payments coming in. This whole thing doesn't really make much sense to me. The press release doesn't give any other details about how Riverty invoicing works on the seller side, so sellers might be skeptical. But if you wade into the policy, which Liz did, thanks you, as always, simply for the buyer, simply select it as your payment method. You don't need an extra account, just your date of birth and an address. Continue shopping till the end of the month. You'll receive a bill on the first day of the following month. You have 14 days to pay it. Let's see what it says here about sellers. They talk about the standard data protections and how you can pay the bill and so on. You can pay the bill in full or in part anytime before the due date. They ask, what happens if I cancel a purchase or return an item? When you use monthly billing, you only pay for the items you want to keep. If you have a current abandoned cart or return, Riverty will make up the due date. So move up rather the due date so you have more time to take care of it. Again, the important note, sellers will be paid in full and your item will ship as normal. Using monthly billing will not affect when your item ships. So again, you as the seller are going to be expected to ship. And to be fair, I don't know if you'll even know. I assume it will be completely opaque to you, that you won't know that the customer paid with this program versus having paid with a regular credit card or whatever. I think it'll be completely seamless. You're just going to get a notice that you have a paid order and you're supposed to ship it out. Riverty makes it clear that as soon as the contract has been concluded between the buyer and the seller for an order using monthly biller, the seller assigns any current and future claim that is to be paid by the buyer to Riverty. So again, incoming money on that invoice is not coming to you as a seller because you've already been paid. That money is going to go instead to Riverty. Riverty pays the seller upfront on the buyer's behalf, which transfers the claim of money owed by the buyer to be paid by Riverty when the invoice comes due. So in a nutshell, I'm not sure, other than maybe boosting sales by giving buyers another payment option. I'm not sure what eBay gets out of this financially. I'm really not sure what Riverty gets out of it, unless, again, they're getting a certain percentage of those sales. But as sellers over in Germany, this looks like a pretty good program. If it attracts more buyers and you sell more stuff, you're getting paid right off the top. So you really shouldn't have anything to worry about. So hopefully that helps. I had several people that reached out to me when we covered that last week. So hopefully this has made it more clear. And again, thank you to Liz for following up and using Google Translate to wade through the German eBay terms of service. This article is over on e-commerce bites. Etsy talked about over the summer that they were going to start an insider membership program, and that program is now rolled out in beta, and the annual cost for it is $72. But there are some issues that people are already having with it. So people have begun signing up for Etsy's new beta membership program called Etsy Insider that gives shoppers shipping benefits with a big caveat and some other perks. They first announced this beta program back in late July. They've since published the cost of the program, which is currently still by invitation only. So you can't just go to Etsy and try to sign up for this. They are doing this on an invitation-only basis. There are two plans, a 3-month seasonal plan, which is $18, or an annual plan, which is $72. On November 9th, a member of the Etsy Insider Program posted a reel on Instagram showing herself opening a free gift, which is a benefit that only comes if you sign up, of course, for the annual plan. The biggest perk of the program is supposed to be the shipping benefit, which is free domestic shipping up to $20 in shipping costs per eligible item for the lowest cost shipping classes offered by the seller from sellers based in the U.S. to any destination in the U.S. only. So this is a domestic United States program only. It does not cover other countries or international shipping. The problem comes, however, for items with shipping costs over $20. You, as the buyer, are still then responsible for the full cost of shipping. You're not going to get a $20 credit towards that shipping. The program just does not apply. That strikes me as a bit of an oversight. I don't know how often there are things that ship on Etsy that the shipping costs over $20. I'm sure there are a significant number. Absolutely not the majority, but there are going to be some items, and you don't get a credit for that $20. You just have to pay the full thing, whether you're in the program or not. So it was not received well, of course, by some people. Posting about the program, a friend of mine said that with Insider, if the shipping cost is over $20, they pay none of it. So her $35 shipping fee did not reduce to $15. Etsy described the following caveats of the shipping benefit. Only items that take Etsy payment items are eligible for the Etsy Insider covered free shipping. Some sellers already offer free shipping, of course, so the program would not apply. They're not just going to give you money. If the seller offers free shipping, it's just free shipping. There's no benefit. It also pointed out that sellers and items that are eligible for Etsy Insider covered free shipping are subject to change. They'll be interested to know that Etsy does display a special Etsy Insider logo next to items that are eligible for free shipping through the program, but at this time, that logo will only appear for people who are already Etsy Insider members. I would think that will change as that program moves forward. That to me would be a terrific marketing tool. Etsy Insider, and you're not an insider, so you're curious, what is that thing? And you click on it, and then you get the whole spiel about the benefits and so on. So I would expect that that's something that we'll see in the not too distant future. Etsy has also said it will offer members deals and drops from time to time. Insider members will receive first access to merchandise and deals from Etsy sellers. Access and notifications to those promotions may be sent to you via email and or within the Etsy Insider membership hub. Participating inventory in deals and drops is limited and subject to availability from the sellers. One seller said, I was selected as a beta user, and honestly, I love it. I've bought more in the past few weeks than ever. The main benefit, of course, the free shipping. I tend to think Etsy goods are already more than I'd like to pay, so when I decide to purchase and see another $6 in shipping, I say, and abandon, but not anymore. Both seasonal and annual members receive the shipping benefit and deals and drops. The annual members will receive also a birthday promotional offer that expires 30 days after it's sent and one annual gift. For sellers who wonder how this impacts them, in their original announcement, Etsy said Insider benefits deliver great value for buyers. The program comes at no cost to the Etsy seller community. Benefits, including the free shipping, will be funded by Etsy and through the membership fee. Etsy Insider makes supporting small businesses more rewarding in more ways more often. We believe the program can become an important lever in turning our strong brand affinity into deeper customer loyalty. Our teams are excited to glean insights from the beta launch to help inform Etsy's path forward. We're confident the program will make it easier and more joyful for buyers and sellers. Part of the Q&A, Etsy insiders get free shipping as a seller. Do I have to cover the cost? Nope. There's no action required for your shop or cost to you. You keep your workflow and your shipping settings the same as they are today. Etsy is covering the cost of this benefit to Etsy Insider members. You will be paid your full shipping fee, less the transaction fee like normal, and your earnings and fees will appear in the same as any other order on your ledger. You'll be able to see shipping was paid by Etsy on the order email, order details page, packing slip, and so on. And again, it is U.S. domestic only. So good on them for rolling out this program. Hopefully it works. I obviously, there's probably a couple of tweaks yet to be done there. And I guess if the program's only $72, they probably don't want to be covering the cost of a $50, $60, $80 shipment. So I get it from that standpoint. But when you roll out programs like this, you probably should give the $20 credit when shipping is over. That's just my take on it. You can let me know in the comments what you think. As is the case with a lot of these sites, they just continue to, I said in response to a posting that Liz put on Facebook about this thing, that the sites don't care which of the sellers sell an item. They just want to make a sale. And this is more proof of that fact. Etsy has added a compare with similar items module to listings in the app, directing buyers to competing items. Sellers have noticed a new way Etsy may be directing potential buyers to competitors with a new compare with similar items module added on listings in the app. Ads for competing products and other similar features have been standard for years or tested at various times on the platform. This is a slightly new look. The current experience, Etsy also adds this find similar item overlay on listing pages that takes the user to a visual search, though clearly the AI, she says, needs a little work to understand what the item actually is beyond just the general shape. And there's an example here where you see it says find similar items, and then it shows things that are kind of similar, but not exactly what you might be looking for. So it's not perfect, but again, it's a start. This AI stuff, man, it's all a work in progress. This new edition, however, expands on that idea by allowing buyers to directly compare main images, ratings, prices, materials, shipping speed, and other details in a side-by-side scrolling display. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see what this looks like. There's a little box that says, need help deciding? Now you can compare similar items side by side, and you see these, it almost looks like Amazon, where there are multiple similar listings side by side with a scroll tab, and you can just go to the next and the next and the next, and then directly from there, you can add one of those competing items to your cart. Again, I've got two things on this. The first that I just said, Etsy does not care, eBay does not care, Amazon does not care whether you made the sale or I make the sale, as long as Etsy makes the sale. And if they think there's an opportunity to surface potentially better listings or better items or higher priced items that will generate more sales and more fees for them, that is probably what they are going to do. The second thing is, and there have been marketing studies on this, there becomes a point where too much choice is actually a bad thing. People will look at a shelf, and if there's 2 or 3 varieties of ketchup or whatever it is, it's fairly easy to make a decision. Oh, I like that one, I'm just going to go with that. But if you walk in and there is a wall of 100 different ketchups, a lot of people just throw up their hands and say, I don't have time to decide between 100 ketchups, I'll just skip it. Too much choice causes paralysis by analysis. It makes things too difficult. There's too much thinking involved, and this could be a step down that path where there's just a little too much going on. So I'm not completely convinced that this is I guess if it's somewhat limited, it's probably okay. If it turns into eBay, where they're showing you at times 300 different ads and different listings for other stuff, I don't know that that's a great program. Again, let me know in the comments if you are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. But them advertising a competitor's product on my listing is just the way of the world these days. It's just how all these sites are doing it. So I've kind of given up that fight, but it needs to be targeted and run in such a way where it is actually beneficial for buyers and sellers in addition to just the platform. Again, all of us have to have a stake in it. All of us have to get some benefit out of it. As Liz says, also, these marketplaces, of course, generally don't care much about which of their merchants get the eventual sale, only that a sale takes place on their site so that they can collect fees. But the incessant influx of advertising across these sites can also backfire or reach a point of diminishing returns if they lead to, as I just said, analysis paralysis, where potential buyers are overwhelmed or distracted by too many options being presented, or if the ad placements, like they do on eBay, end up being disruptive. So let me know what you think of that. Lots of stuff going on there. It's wild times. And again, all of this right kind of in the height of Q4. All bad. All bad. Some of these programs are cool. I don't have any issue with trying to entice buyers to make purchases. That's all well and good. But it doesn't feel like a lot of these decisions are being made in partnership with sellers in particular, and that they maybe don't always necessarily have the buyer's best interest at heart either. So let me know what you think of any of that. That's going to put a wrap on the reselling news. Now let's talk about some stuff that I sold here at the Galaxy over the last week. So I talked about last week. I'm going to take a drink of coffee here. That I had made a purchase of about 1,800 books, and I completed that purchase. Picked up the last of them on Monday. Bought actually a few others because I think I talked about in last week's show, or maybe on the live on Wednesday, there was a whole nother room full of books that they hadn't told me about. A lot of that was kind of lower value, like cookbooks and stuff like that. So I really wasn't interested in buying all of it, but I did kind of cherry pick my way through there and left with almost another 100 books. So that deal ended up being almost 1,900. I had my eyes on a lot on Facebook of science fiction and fantasy novels that I was thinking about making a purchase on. It was listed as 400 books for $400. I finally sent that guy a message and I offered him 300, told him he was almost in Cleveland. I'm in Cincinnati. So it was a 3.5+ hour drive. I said, I'm going to be coming from down here. Can you work with me on the price at all? I offered him 300. He came back at 350 and said that was the least he would be willing to do. So I agreed to do that. I drove up there yesterday to get him. Everything's already boxed up and ready to go, which was awesome. And he says, I didn't pack these myself, but you're just going to have to trust me that there's about 400 of them here. And I said, that's fine. Based on the size of the boxes, I'm going to bet there's more than 400 here. So I'll go ahead and do this deal. Ended up being 553 books for $350. So a really good deal. A lot of those are going to go to my Whatnot science fiction show. So if you're a science fiction fan, be on the lookout for that. Some really, really nice hardcovers in really good condition with their dust jackets, vintage science fiction. A lot of those are going to end up on my Whatnot show. So I'm pretty stoked with that purchase. And as it turned out, this guy is also an eBay seller, pretty big outfit. He has had a huge warehouse and space. They don't normally do books, but they ended up somehow buying out an estate where all these science fiction books were, and additionally, apparently, maybe hundreds, if not thousands, of military and history books that he said, I don't know what to do with. So I said, tell you what, if you'll do the same kind of deal, I will come back up here the week after Thanksgiving, and I'll take another 400 or 500 books off your hand for the same kind of price and do military and history. So I may have stumbled into another couple of thousand books by answering a single ad on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm pretty stoked about all that, but it made for a very busy week. I made 3 trips, I think, to Dayton to finish picking up those books, and then the trip was in Barberton, Ohio, so almost to Cleveland yesterday to get those, and lots of moving stuff around. It was a very busy week for that kind of stuff. And it was also, as it turned out, a really busy week on my shops. It was, I think, 119 listings that sold last week. I listed 165 or 185 new listings. So it was very, very busy. I'm ready for a break, to be fair. But it's Q4, you got to get them up, you got to get them sold. So what I've got for you today, I think, is about 15 items that have sold over the last week across various platforms. Let's get right to it. I say, as I've been rambling for 10 minutes. This first item, Monroe County Sesquicentennial, 1836 to 1986. This was a illustrated paperback, pretty good size, like 8.5 by 11 book. This was part of, I talked about a few weeks ago, I was at a sale, and the guy had 2 boxes of stuff that he was holding for another seller who had not come in and gotten them. And he said, if you want these 2 boxes of stuff, $50, you can have it. And I kind of went through them real quick and I said, I will absolutely do that. This is one of those. As it turned out, it cost me 54 cents when all was said and done. This was listed for $24.99 or best offer. Got a watcher. I sent out an offer and sold it for $21.24 plus shipping. Paid $4.21 in fees, $1.98 promoted listings general fee. Again, cost of goods sold just 54 cents. So this item netted me $14.51. This is one of the first items from the 1,800 book lot that I just picked up that I've been talking about. You're going to see a lot of stuff from this. That was a terrific buy. There is so much good stuff in there. I don't think there's any 100, 200, $500 books in there, but there is a ton of 20, 30, 40, $50 stuff, and I'm into them for 50 cents a piece, and it is just going to be terrific. This is the Johnson O'Connor English Vocabulary Builder, Volume 1. It was published by the Human Engineering Lab back in 1948, a hardcover in really, really nice condition, listed and sold on eBay for $23.99 plus shipping. I paid $4.65 in fees, $2.21 in ad fees. Again, cost of goods sold 50 cents. My net profit $16.63. This is also from that lot, Home Planners, 230 house plans, 1.5 and 2-story designs by Richard Pullman from 1976. These old house plan books, man, some of them can be really absurd money when you consider that you probably can't even buy any of these plans anymore. This was from that same sale, so another 50 cent cost of goods sold, listed and sold again on eBay for $23.99 plus shipping, $4.65 in fees, $2.21 ad fees, net profit again, $16.63. Talked about these some time ago, picked up a bunch of books from 1919 and 1920 that were historical looks at battlefields of the First World War. I'd paid up for some of these. These were $2.37 a piece. Battlefields of the Marne, 1914. This is a Michelin illustrated guide to the battlefield that was published in 1919. Kind of a soft cover with a dust jacket. Dust jacket was pretty rough. The back flap essentially was almost completely falling off of this thing, but they're so hard to find, even in terrible condition, that I went ahead and bought them. This sold on eBay for $24.99 plus shipping. I paid $2.07 in ad fees, $4.39 in regular fees, net profit $15.41. Old yearbooks, love them. Not fast sellers, but bring pretty good money. This is the Garfield Senior High School 1968 Annam yearbook from Hamilton, Ohio, which is the city I live in. I picked this up at an estate sale as part of a kind of a bulk buy. I think I walked out of there with 4 or 5 tubs worth of stuff. I'm into this for 91 cents. This particular high school is no more. It is now a middle school, so I don't know when that switched. Sometime in the 70s, I think, this school went away as a high school, so these things do have some value. Had it listed for $29.99, received an offer of $25 plus shipping, which I went ahead and accepted. $4.15 in fees, no ad fee. That 91 cent cost of goods sold left me with a net profit of $19.94. Like I talk about pretty regularly, yearbooks, if I can get them for under $2 or $3, I almost always just buy the whole stack. Sometimes they will sit for a while, but they will eventually sell, like these you may remember from last week. I sold, I think it was 7 of these Delta Junior High School Panther yearbooks. That same buyer came back and bought 3 more. Last week, we had worked out a deal. This week, they just bought these at full price, which was cool. $12.99 a piece for 3 different years, 87, 88, 82, 83, and 88, 89. It totaled $38.97 plus shipping. I paid $5.80 in fees, $3.39 in ad fees, net profit $29.02. I'm into these for 50 cents a piece. Now sold 10 of these junior high school yearbooks. Totaling, what would it be? The last ones were 70, so $118, $119 essentially on 10 of these yearbooks that I'm into for $5. I will take it. Collected poems. Collected earlier poems of William Carlos Williams. This was published in 1951. It's in library binding, hardcover, ex-library book. Was in really, really nice condition. This was part of a big lot of 650 plus books that I bought kind of late in the summer. Had it listed and sold for $39.99 plus shipping over on eBay. $6.94 in fees, $3.40 in ad fees. Cost of goods sold was just 38 cents. Net profit $29.27. This is I don't know how often you're going to find something like this, but the collected earlier poems of William Carlos Williams is a pretty good score. This was an interesting one. Before the Hand of Man by Roy Dean. It's a first edition illustrated hardcover in its dust jacket from Rho Delta Press from 1972. This is ostensibly, this is a book about the environment and ecology. It is filled with terrific photographs of nature, the woods and streams and forests. The weird thing about it is that every single one of those photos also includes a photo of a naked man. There were two of these books. I don't remember what the other one is titled. I still have it. I've got it for about the same price. These were also from that 650 book lot. So these were 38-cent cost of goods sold. This one, again, Before the Hand of Man by Roy Dean, listed and sold on eBay for $39.99 plus shipping. I paid $7.05 in fees, $3.46 in ad fees, net profit $29.10. Be on the lookout for these Roy Dean photo essay books. Again, ostensibly about the environment, but filled with naked men. I've talked for months and months and months about these metallography and metallurgy textbooks. Here's another one. This was part of a big lot of these that I bought at an estate sale for 94 cents in aggregate. Metallography Principles and Procedures, published by the LECO Corporation in 1996. This was an illustrated paperback that looked like it was designed to fit in like a 3-ring binder. Really cool piece. Lots of really great photos of kind of like electron microscope looks at different types of metal. Into it for 94 cents, listed it on eBay for $49.99 plus shipping. I received an offer of $40, which I went ahead and accepted. $6.80 in fees, $3.33 in ad fees. Net profit on this one, $28.93. This was part of the 1800 book lot from last week, Mind Power, The Secret of Mental Magic by William Atkinson. This is a 1940 printing hardcover of an earlier book, I think from the 19 teens, listed for $49.99. Got an offer randomly for $42.22 plus shipping. Again, I own it for 50 cents, so that seemed like a good deal, so I took it. $7.25 in fees, $3.57 in ad fees, led to a net profit of $30.90 on this 50-cent book. Here's another one. This is from that same purchase. So the first day I went over there was a worker, and they started loading some boxes for me of books. There was just a mountain of books on a table. And when I got home, and I started sorting through them, I found this thing in the box that, it turns out, was not a book. This is a Stoner Manufacture Corporation World War II 20-millimeter cartridge case, souvenir lighter, and ashtray in its box. So this is essentially, it has a 20-millimeter cartridge, like a shell from a 20-millimeter small cannon from World War II, that has been converted into a cigarette lighter, and then it mounts to a kind of a bronze copper base that serves as an ashtray. A really, really cool piece. This thing didn't look like it had ever been out of the box. It had certainly never been used. The wick on the lighter was pure white. It had never been fired. No cosmetic damage, no rust. It was still had its instruction manual. These were still wrapped in their original tissue paper. Really cool piece. Again, because it was just thrown in that box, I recorded it as another 50-cent item. I listed this at auction because I saw a range of sales. It's not a super fast seller, but it looked like maybe $40 to $60 was the range. So I put this up at an auction for $49.99 just to see what it did. At the very last moment, it got a bid of $49.99 and sold. The buyer paid $16.20 in shipping. I paid $8.37 in fees, but just $10.04 in shipping because, again, I don't pass along on Ground Advantage or Priority my shipping discount, so I made a little money on the shipping. Again, it was 50 cents to me because it was just thrown in that box, so the net profit on this thing, $47.28. Cool piece. Another one from that same lot, These Entertaining People, A Guide for the Elegant Hostess by Florence P. Smith. This was a hardcover in its dust jacket. This is not even a first printing of this particular book, but it's very difficult to find. Again, from 50 cents, I listed it at $59.99, received an offer almost immediately for $55, which I went ahead and took. $9.04 in fees, $4.50 in promoted listings general fees. That 50 cents cost of goods sold, net profit $40.96. I'm very close to paying for the first day's worth of pickups on this sale already. Just some terrific, terrific stuff in that purchase. Here's one I've had for quite a while. The Secret of the Whispering Willow by Harriet Eviett. 1950, illustrated hardcover, first edition. The dust jacket was pretty ragged, but this was a very unusual piece. I had it listed over on Etsy for $64.99. It's in my current 10% off sale, so this sold for $58.49. I paid $6.43 to Etsy in fees. This did not sell through offsite ads, so no ad fee there. This was part of a lot of old kind of romance hardcovers that I bought a couple of years ago that I was into for 74 whole cents. Net profit on this thing, $51.32. So be on the lookout for The Secret of the Whispering Willow. This was one from the Big 15,000 book lot from a couple of summers ago. Prodigal Daughters by Joseph Hocking, a 1923 Ed Revell version hardcover with illustrations. This was we talk about some of the movie tie-in and movie tone editions. This was a Gloria Swanson movie edition, so kind of an unusual piece. Again, from the 1920s, listed and sold for $63.99 over on eBay. With it being part of that big lot, my cost of goods sold was just 4 cents, so this was a pretty good one. I did pay $10.34 in fees, $5.17 in promoted listing fees, so my net profit was $48.44. This one I've had for a while, and I was talking to somebody about this last week. I was doing a coaching session with someone on some questions they had on some things on eBay, and we got to just talking about books and offers and watchers and that sort of thing. So this book came from, again, that 650 odd book lot. So I'm into it for 38 cents. Really difficult to find, pretty rare. My New Order by Adolf Hitler. It's speeches of his. It was published in 1941. This is a first printing hardcover by Raynal and Hitchcock. Average selling prices ranged anywhere from about $110 to about $150. This one was in pretty decent condition, so I listed it for $139.99. It has gotten watchers almost every day since I listed this. It had, at the time it finally closed, it had 27 watchers. Every time it's gotten a watcher, I've sent out an offer, and nobody had made a purchase until finally this last person reached out to me and said, what was my best price? And I said, I would do $115, which was just a little bit more than my normal 15% off. But because he reached out to me directly, I just said, I'll do one. He offered $95 in his message. And I said, I can't do that, but I would do $115. Let me know. I sent him the offer and he bought it. So again, this was 38 cents cost of goods sold. My New Order, Adolf Hitler speeches, sold for $115 plus shipping. Fees were $17.73. He did find this through a promoted listing fee, so I paid $9.01. Shipping cost was $6.40. I sent this by Ground Advantage, so it was a little cheaper than the media rate. Plus, I got the $100 worth of insurance on it. So my net profit is $88.36. And that is our flip of the week. And that's going to put a wrap on this week's show. Again, things are starting to wind down a little bit on the news front. Hopefully these sites are done rolling out changes and making updates to their fees and all that kind of stuff so that we can just focus on what we should be focusing on for Q4. Let me know, as always, what you thought of any of the stuff you saw in today's episode. As always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your week with me here. I'm on the fence about whether there will be a show this Wednesday. There probably will be, but I'm not sure I've got anything specific to talk about. So if you do have any questions or anything specific that you would be interested in seeing a show on, let me know in the comments or shoot me a message on Instagram at Galaxy CDs Rocks. And maybe we'll do something like that for the Wednesday live. If you got something out of this or just found it interesting, informative, or entertaining, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. If you're not currently a subscriber to the YouTube channel, or a member for that matter, you could consider doing that. There are a couple of member early review or early releases over there right now. I did one that is a just quick walkthrough of my warehouse space. Somebody had requested that. It eventually will be available for everyone, but right now it is a member exclusive. And there is another one. Honest to God, I don't even remember what it is. I did like 3 videos last week, or 4 videos last week, and they're just all run together. But there are 2 member exclusives that will remain that way until the middle of next month, and then they'll be available. So if you'd like to have first crack at some of that, and to get this podcast early, generally on Saturday or Sunday, you can sign up for a membership. I believe I have the price set at $4.99 a month, so the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help support the channel, and you get some cool stuff early. Yeah. That's going to put a wrap on it. But as always, thanks again. And now it's time to sell. Thanks, guys.
You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.